Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by my lovely co host, Angel.
Hi, welcome back.
We are doing a supersized edition of Guiding Light. It was just so good, we had to keep watching. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get right into it. Um, so we open, and Jilly is still reporting at the fire explosion site. And I know it's my realistic mind, but I'm just like, there's so much smoke inhalation. She has to get out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
um, We get a replay of Joshua jumping from the rooftop with Marina on his back and falling. It
Mhm.
was a little clearer this time, so we could actually see that they fell.
Mhm.
I was a little worried. I'm like, did he fall on top of that child? But no, the way they fell was like sideways a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she just kind of like crawled off of him and was just sitting there like, doo, 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 and he was like in pain.
He's like, ah.
That little girl's cute.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Um,
remember like who played her. It wasn't. I don't. Think if I remember correctly from like reading on soap opera, not soap opera, it's Soap Central. It's I think like two little girls
oh,
played her in
probably.
'95, and then like we get the one that lasts a little longer, and then we get Aubrey Dollar in the early 2000s.
I feel like that's the case usually with like really young kids. There's usually twins because of labor
Mhm.
laws and
Well, not twins. I mean, like they had one kid in early '95 and another kid in late '95.
oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
um, Joshua and Marina are saved by a helicopter, and Jilly's reporting on it, but she's not, naming names. Um, and here I'm thinking they were airlifted to the hospital. They were airlifted back down to the explosion site. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Because he's literally like 10 feet away from her in a
Yeah,
gurney.
right?
Um, Lucy's by his side, thanking him for saving her. So were they? I I know last time we watched, they mentioned that they had met through a personal or classified or whatever, but when they realized what each other were, they just talked or whatever. Is this headed towards kind of like a romance, like a short romance? Do you
I don't
remember?
think so.
No.
I think we'll see it a little later. I think they're definitely kind of testing him with Annie,
Hmm.
and it's pretty obvious once you get to it.
Right.
Like I think they tried it with that, and they were like, and then they saw like they probably saw the chemistry with him and Cynthia, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's probably what happened. Why it didn't like go into that, but she does compare with somebody else later.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
I actually have a lot of like family tree questions as we go along.
I may have the answers to them. If not, as you can see, my phone is right here.
You have Soap Central like pulled up.
Right, let's hold up. Who's who in Springfield? Oh, look, David Grant.
So Lucy tries to take Marina from Joshua so they could take him to the hospital, and he just wants to take a moment to just like hold her and comfort her and like just we made it. You're okay. I'm okay. Like we just went through this horrible thing.
Hmm.
It was sweet.
Yeah.
Um, so then we kind of shift, and it became mostly like a Buzz centric episode.
Hmm.
And
This
at
is his
first,
Emmy reel.
this is I mean real.
Because
Yeah,
Justin Dees won a lot of Emmys.
is he?
Yeah, he's like up there with like Heather Tom, Tony Geary. Like he's
Really?
won a lot of Emmys. Like not just for Buzz. He played Tom on As the World Turns. He was on Santa Barbara for a
Oh,
little bit. So he
oh.
has racked. I think most of them are for Buzz though, because like he was Buzz the longest
Hmm.
out of his roles in daytime.
Hmm.
But yeah, he does give me Tony Geary vibes. Not in a bad way though. Like he does, like he puts himself his whole self into a role. Like that's what I
Gotcha.
love about him. And if he's seeing this, I hope you're doing well. I hope you and Margaret are doing because he married. They were the first like adult Tom and Margot,
Mhm.
and they married each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Margaret Cullen, and she's been like she's like that. Hey, it's that person on
Oh,
TV.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I actually only found out, like, maybe in the last couple of years, that, what's her name? Hilary B. Smith played Margot at one point. I did not know that. I just thought she was like Nora the whole time, and that was her only role.
I found
Um
out watching a classic episode of As the World Turns. I was like, hey, it's Laura.
Um, so at first it looks like Buzz is trying to pack up the diner in laundry
Mhm.
baskets, like the dishes and everything. And then he kind of spirals, and it's almost like he has like a this whole fire and the explosion set off his PTSD from being I think in Vietnam.
I think it was Vietnam.
Because at that point that would have been 20, 25 years prior, which kind of
And
adds
it
up.
lines up with like his other character, Tom, on As the World Turns, who was also in
Mhm.
Vietnam, and that you heard of Leanne Hughes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of lines up with that too.
Okay. So yeah, I was doing that math in my head, and I'm looking at him because he looks pretty good for
Mhm.
whatever age he's supposed to be. So I'm like, is he even old enough to have served in Vietnam? Like,
Well,
because
they recruit them very young, so
yeah,
that would
that's
have
true.
made sense too.
Yeah, that is true. There was that draft, so maybe.
Mhm.
Um, so a man comes in named Stavros, and I'm like, typical soap opera name for Greek. um, and mentions they have to save the diner. Um, at first, I think he's just like the neighbor or whatever, but I guess
I
they're
think
related.
Stavros, if I'm not mistaken, I think Stavros is Eleni's dad.
I thought so too. I thought I heard
I
that.
thought.
And then he referred to Buzz's father as his brother. So I'm like,
Oh, they're not. Okay.
so then I
No,
got really confused. So this is where my family tree
yeah,
questions
that's who I
start.
thought it was, and then I was like, "Wait a minute. No, because it can't be
Because
because, like, if we're going into those trees,
hmm
Frank and Eleni shouldn't be married."
right.
So
But I know
and
guiding
Guiding
light
Light didn't
rides the
pursue
line with that sometimes.
yeah, Guiding Light didn't pursue stuff like that until much later, like,
Okay.
first cousin relationship until much later.
Right.
But
So probably stereotypical of me. But didn't know that Buzz was Greek. So I'm seeing this obviously Greek man with an accent and thinking, okay, he's related to Eleni because she also is Greek and has an accent.
mhm.
um, but then when he said my brother, your father, I'm like, how does this work? Because Eleni's married to Frank and but um so Buzz ends up basically conceding and saying let it burn. Um
Mhm.
Before Stavros showed up, he like was looking at a letter or something about $1,000, and I'm like, did he owe somebody money for this, or was this how much he bought the diner for? Like his father bought the diner for? I wasn't really like clear on that. Um,
So his father brought the diner, like his father gave him the diner, or he brought the diner, something like that. I forgot too.
mhm,
And it was only $1,000 that he spent on it.
okay, okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if like there was like somebody trying to buy out all the businesses on Fifth Street and he owed them $1,000 and he didn't have it. Like I made up this whole big drama in my head with the $1,000. I spiraled on $1,000. Um, where am I? Oh, so Stavros wants to go upstairs and try and save all their like family memories, and um, Buzz is like not having it. He's like, just leave it. It's not worth it. Um, and Stavros sees his Medal of Honor displayed,
Mhm.
and he kind of plays on his emotions with that. Um, Buzz goes outside and catches a kid going through the laundry baskets, looting.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who loots in the middle of a fire like this? But okay.
I mean,
Um,
when you loot, you loot. When you see a disaster, it's like not saying that it's okay to do it, but like you're seeing like all this disaster stuff like that. Be like, and people unfortunately out there are like, hey, how can I take advantage of this opportunity for myself? So
yeah.
yeah, it's probably the most realistic thing on this on this show.
uh, the kid runs and chases him. Buzz chases him, and he jumps in a dumpster. And Buzz has like so the helicopter lights make Buzz like flashback to like his war days.
Uh-huh.
And apparently he must have shot and killed someone or a kid. I
Mhm.
don't know. Um, and that's why he got the Medal of Honor, is what I took away from it.
That's the thing. I don't think it's why he got the Medal of Honor. I think it might have been an accident.
Yeah, it seemed like it was an accident.
Yeah.
He has like this guilt that he got a Medal of Honor for killing an innocent person or something. Like I felt like he had conflicted feelings about this medal.
I think he got the Medal of Honor, but it had nothing to do with him killing the person. I think it was something different. But because of that guilt of killing somebody,
Hmm.
he doesn't think he deserves it.
Okay. Um, After he comes back to reality and he has a little pity party, apologizing to his kids for being his father and everybody under the sun for
Well,
being a failure.
he abandoned them.
He
He
seems to.
abandoned Buzz and not Buzz. Well, but okay, so Buzz's real name is Frank. Frank is Frank Cooper,
Hmm.
who's married to Laney. Then we have Harley, who's not on the show right now,
Okay.
who was on the show. So he abandoned um, Nadine and Frank and Harley,
Okay.
but I forgot why though.
And Lucy's also his daughter?
Lucy's also his daughter, but when he abandoned them, from what I understand, he started a family with another family,
Okay.
and that's how Lucy was created. That's how Lucy Joy is factored in.
Is he the original Buzz, or
So
did somebody else play him when he wasn't on the show and
he
he
was
was on
the original Buzz. Yeah, he was the original Buzz. He just when Frank and Harley came in,
Hmm.
they were essentially alone. So, and I think Harley's first like storyline was her giving birth to Susan slash Daisy. So
Oh, okay.
and this was back in the late 80s. They came in like kind of on their own, and Frank essentially is helping Harley give birth to Susan, who's
Okay.
played by Brittany Snow later on.
So to compare to Days, even though their storylines are completely different, but so is it like Adrian and Steve, like Patch and Adrian, like they didn't know like who their family was or whatever? Well, they
Well,
knew
they
who
knew
Joe
who their
was.
well, they knew who their family was. It was just that it
Billy,
was
Jack,
under
Billy thing.
yeah, it was like so they're like
All right.
circumstances were
That's a bad example.
definitely
It's not like at all.
war and like yeah.
All right, I can't make a comparison to Days because it's not like at all. Never mind.
That's okay.
um, so later on the roof, he seems to rally and he gets the water to run, and he's kind of filling up buckets and like pouring it on the roof, and he's like basically like daring the fire to come now.
Mhm.
He's like, give it your best shot. Um, he prays to God for help or a sign as the flames bust through the windows. And so I guess the window like busted from the flame from the heat. And then he goes, I figured I'd ask. Like he just he screams as fire trucks speed by, and he screams to the kids that he tried, and he lays across the blinking diner sign, defeated just as it begins to rain, and he shouts, I believe. So that was
And that
definitely not for me.
definitely yeah, that definitely gave me Tony Gary vibes too. And he was like, I believe. Do I want to cast him as do I want to cast um
Recast Luke Spencer.
do I want to recast him as Luke Spencer? Maybe. I mean, Luke Spencer's dead. They're gonna kill off Bobby. So I mean, But Luke Spencer's like he's dead, but like I think that's because like Tony Gary won't come back. But also I think Justin Dees is a New York actor anyway, so I don't think he'll do
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We discussed that last time, how a lot of if they were the soap actors, if they were on the East Coast, they kind of stayed within the
Hmm.
East Coast soaps.
Yeah.
Um, so the hospital is overpacked because of this whole tragedy, as the families from the Fifth Street fire are brought in. Um, Eleni and Frank are there waiting for Marina, and Marina and Josh are brought in. Jilly is reunited with Sid, her husband. He was stuck behind a blockade on the bridge and couldn't get to the fire, and he helped out with what was going on there. Apparently, there were other fires, small fires going on around town.
Mhm.
Um, Joshua is being processed by Nurse Dutton, and he says processed like cheese. um, I- so this felt like the first time they were interacting.
Hmm.
So we are truly seeing it from the beginning. I like that.
Yes.
Glad we started here. um, so the way she's been on since November, so she must have been used sporadically throughout that month.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like back then, if you were new, they just kind of like gave you crumbs for a few weeks or a few months. And this reminded me how they brought Eileen Davidson onto Days. Like
Yes.
she was basically just like if you didn't know who Eileen Davidson was, you just thought she was just like some social worker in the background. Like
Yeah.
you just had like one lines here and there
Hmm.
until she started playing baseball with John Black. um so where am I? Oh,
She's being processed like cheese.
yeah, cheese. They're very combative with each other. Um
Enemies to lovers.
yeah, I kind of
Not
rolled
to
my eyes at
spoil
that. I'm
things,
like,
but
it is a soap trope. We hate
not
each
to
other till we
spoil
love each other.
not to spoil things, but it's gonna happen.
uh, Jilly comes over to Joshua and tells him what a hero he is and asks for an interview when he's feeling up to it. As Annie listens while assessing his leg injury and kind of hearing everybody talk about how great Joshua is and what a hero he is and what a good heart he and a good person he is. And she's just like, well, he was yelling at me. So um, Vanessa and Matt have sensual scenes throughout the whole episode. I put it starts with her removing his socks.
This
Then they
is like this is like what this is like I don't know if this is like a soap trope, but there were they definitely did a lot of this in the 90s where like when you're between like a rock, like the end of like one point of your storyline, the beginning of one point of your storyline, you're in a couple situation, you have to have a whole episode where you make love. I
yeah.
remember that happened with Haley and Mateo. And my mom had to like turn the TV off. Like turn the TV to like a court show because it was the entire episode. Like they
Yeah.
were just like they were in the shower, they ran outside, they were kissing, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And my mom's like, "Nope." So she
Yeah.
turned the
A lot
TV.
of soaps do that. Well, they used to do that. Now I feel
These
like
two, yeah,
they barely have sex on soaps anymore. But
right,
it almost feels like it's more conservative now on TV than it was back then.
right.
um I
Gotta watch your
was
stuff
talking to
on
Lynn
TV.
about this. I was like, I want to see people fucking. Like, come on.
Come on, we get to the fucking
When Days
yes.
went to Peacock, I was like, I want to see ass and tits. Let's go.
Let's go. I want to see a whole theme song and then cut to a sex scene.
Right? They bathe together. Um and she no, she rubs aloe on him, and then they eventually make love finally, like towards the end of the episode. um
Hey,
Holly
look,
and
you're
Fletcher.
you're in that situation where like where you're literally in a fire. Aloe is good for that.
Holly and Fletcher finally arrive at the paper, and Holly attacks Tangi for overstepping and thinking she could make executive decisions. Tangi accuses Holly of being triggered by seeing her, reminding her of Roger. Holly tells her to get out of her office and go back to the classifieds. She said that a lot. I was like, ooh, sick burn.
Ooh, back to the personals.
She's basically like, that's all you're good for is like writing personals or yeah, classifieds. Um, so I really like Holly. Like I really like her
Mhm.
watching this. I just love like how she doesn't care for people's bullshit. I just love the way she carries herself and she's just like, yeah, I don't have time
Yep.
for this. um Tangy demands respect and a thank you for holding down the fort while Holly was not there. And she kind of like accuses Holly of like gallivanting with Fletcher. Meanwhile, we know
Mhm.
that they got stuck on the bridge, they got a flat tire. Like, um, her spare was already in use, so she didn't have another spare. um, Tangy calls her a hypocrite for being angry at Roger for sleeping with Alexandra when she did the same thing. And Holly kind of pretends like she doesn't know what she's talking about. And Tangy says she saw her and Fletcher on her desk a few weeks ago.
Oh, we got a Sammy situation.
um, so I already forgot Vincent Irizarry's character's name. Nick?
Nick.
It's Nick,
Nick
okay.
McHenry.
I
Nick
thought it was
McHenry
Nick, but it didn't feel
Spalding.
right typing it. I was like, I don't know about this. Fletcher offers Nick a full-time job at the paper, and he accepts. Does he work for like a competing paper? Like,
What is
does
your comp
Holly kind of like questions if he could do both and where his loyalties lie, or does he work for like a
there's a
TV
tabloid
station?
there's a tabloid that was brought up later in the episode, and there
Yeah,
and that's what this newspaper is at. And then of course there's WSPR, which is where Julie works, which is broadcast news, which is a
yeah,
little different from like print. Um
yeah. At the diner, Buzz is grateful it didn't burn down, and he opens for business on the house for everyone that comes in that day. Or
Yay.
Stavros comes in, happy to see the diner still standing and Buzz back to normal. Later, Frank rushes into the diner and has an emotional hug with Buzz. I was like, I don't even know you guys, and this was sweet.
Oh. And then the lady got recast again.
It wasn't this. It was like the next episode, I
Oh,
think.
it's the next episode. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Eleni follows behind with Marina, and they tell him that their home was lost in the fire. They notice that he's wearing his Medal of Honor, and he jokes that he's overdressed. They all sit in a booth, and Frank promises to rebuild their life and home and is grateful that their family is okay. And Eleni locks eyes with a priest suspiciously. And I was like, oh shit, we gotta keep watching.
Ooh. Ooh.
I was like, what's happening?
We got a
um,
Thornburg situation going on.
Annie gives Joshua pain medication and he needs to be prepped for surgery. He asks her what that means, and she says hospital gown and she needs to shave his leg. Now I know that they use like a surgical like buzzer, but in my when she said shave his leg, I pictured like a razor blade and
A
like
razor
this whole
blade, yep.
sexual soapy
Like a big
thing.
razor blade.
Like, ooh, I just can't resist you as I shave your
A
leg.
disposable razor blade with shaving cream.
Let me warm up the shaving cream. um, he asks if there's a male nurse or an ugly nurse that could do that.
That's a compliment, actually.
Right.
That's a compliment.
Like, sorry, I'm not gonna be able to control my boner because you're shaving my leg. And she says, as you can see, the staff is pretty busy, so I'm what you get.
Uh-huh.
uh, in the next episode, Alan is visited by Roger at breakfast at a restaurant, and they banter some more about Alan helping him get information to prove that he didn't sleep with Alexandra.
Hmm.
Um, Roger notices Holly across the room, and he begs her to talk to him, and she's just not interested.
Not interested. Nope. Bye.
Um, he says he has proof, and he says that he'll wait. No, sorry, Alan said that. Alan goes up to Alexandra, I think, not Alexandra. Holly,
Holly, yeah.
and says that he has proof and he'll get the words right out of Alexandra's mouth. And she has to be left alone. She just wants to have her breakfast.
Yeah, we all
um,
do.
then Tangy sits down with Holly, and she's probably like, "Can I just eat in peace?" um, Holly thinks she's there to bribe her over her. I put her desk indiscretion with Fletcher, and points that out that Roger is across the room if she wants to tell him now. That's when I was like, "Oh, I like her," because she's like, "He's right there. Do it. Do it." um, Alan congratulates Tangy on her article, and her promotion.
Mhm,
She's over the small talk and blames him for ruining her chances with Alan Michael. Um, Alan stops by Roger's office and tells him by this time tomorrow, Holly will know the truth.
mhm,
So then earlier, actually, before Tangy went to the restaurant, Alan Michael and Mindy are at the hospital, and Tangy shows up. They're all there to basically just check on Josh as he's wheeled out of surgery.
mhm.
Um, and he's being hit on by a coworker. The doctors say they haven't seen injuries like this since they treated people back in combat. They said
Mhm.
a war, but I didn't really take note of that.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot too.
They wonder if there were several explosions scattered throughout the night. Vanessa gets caught in bed with Matt by her father, and this felt really like they're
Uh,
adults, and it felt like a teenage situation.
well, also remember Vanessa is comes from money, so
Uh-huh.
so they're gonna so from what I see in like TV shows when it's like people come from money,
Mhm.
it's usually like the father who just like has to put like these expectations on the girl, and the fact that like Vanessa and Matt are like, okay, I'm gonna say they're only 10 years apart. Let's just say they're 10 years apart because I don't think Vanessa is that old. She was
Mhm.
around in the 80s, but I don't think that I think I would say they were only 10 years apart at this point. It got a little ridiculous for me when people were until people actually like also like actually sat them down and be like, okay, what's your issue?
Mhm.
And with I think it's Henry. With Henry, it was like, you're from society. You like people are gonna take your they're gonna take the relationship out of context and they're gonna post articles, it's gonna ruin your reputation, that sort of thing. So that's where he was coming from. Billy we'll talk about later when it comes up. No, I'm sorry, not Billy, Bill.
Yeah.
Bill. I swap the two all the time, so
So this was another family tree moment that I got a little bit of clarification, but still have questions. So she was mortified, and she offers Matt some of Joshua's clothes to wear, and then I'm like, Joshua. I'm like, why does she have his clothes? I was like, were they in a relationship? Because I didn't know. But I found out later that they're brother and sister, Joshua and her.
no. So
No.
she was married to Billy. And that's where Bill came from. So
Okay.
they're in-laws. They're in-laws.
Oh,
They're in-laws.
okay.
So and even though Billy is the older one, Bill is the younger one. That's why it's confusing for me because you would think that like Billy would be the younger one and Bill would be the older one. But
Yeah.
yeah, so and it always confused me. It wasn't it's this is something that has confused me since I started watching Guiding Light. Um
Okay.
so,
So
Billy is no longer in town. I think Jordan Clark had issues with alcoholism, so they had to recast the character. They kind of jettisoned the character out. So,
okay.
this is a little before we started watching it.
I I know that HB is their father, and
Uh huh.
I'm like, was that HB? Because I don't know what HB looks like. But then they said like his last name. I'm like, okay, it's not Lewis. I'm like, so they have different fathers, and I'm like, and I knew that her son was named after Bill, and I'm like, "Okay, so she named her son after her brother." Like, I'm like,
So
"Are they halvesies?" Like, I didn't know, like, the
so
family connection.
everybody who has the Billy name, their names are Harlan Bill.
Okay.
Harlan
Oh,
William,
that's
and
what
then
the HB
Billy.
is for?
So
Okay.
HB is for Harlan Billy or Harlan Bill.
Okay.
So, HB is the oldest,
Yeah.
then we got Billy, who was who is Jordan Clark's character, and then we have Bill, who is Vanessa's son,
Okay. Got it.
with Bill Lee.
Got it. So speaking of him, he knocks on the door, Bill, and walks in to tell her that Josh is in the hospital, and then he's angry with his mother when he sees Matt. They go to the hospital, and Vanessa is by Joshua's side, and he starts to apologize, but she stops him and brings Matt in. And Joshua is angry that Matt is wearing his shirt,
Uh-huh.
and he starts yelling. Annie walks in and kicks everyone out. And Mindy says she used to look up to Vanessa, but not now. Like, and what has she become? So, what is Mindy's relationship to them? She's a Lewis, so
So
how is she related?
so Billy is her father.
Okay,
Billy is
so
her father, so that means that
Mindy and Bill are half
Bill
siblings.
and yeah, Bill and
Mindy,
Mindy are they're brother and sister, but they're half brother and sister.
gotcha. Okay. Um, Annie says to Josh, he really knows how to clear a room. Um, she at one point. Oh, so she's talking about how there's, like, reporters that wanna, like, talk to him and news people, whatever, whatever, and she's like, "Little do they know, there's just, like, a regular 30-something-year-old guy here," and I was like, "Ugh, 30-something." I'm like,
I'm
"I'm 30-something, what are you talking about?"
30 something. Ugh.
'Cause, like, in my head, when I first started watching soaps, these people were old.
Uh-huh.
I was the teenager, and now I'm probably older than them,
Yeah.
when they
I'm
were
like,
watching,
oh my
and I'm like,
gosh.
"I'm so
Oh, that's
old."
Josh.
Um, where am I? Okay. They argue some more because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And he
Enemies to
wants
lovers.
another
You gotta have the
nurse.
enemy part before the lovers part.
Oh, actually, they start arguing some more because he wants pain meds, and she's like, "It's not time yet." And then I'm
Mm.
like, "Are we gonna have, like, a drug addiction story with him? Like, addicted to pain medication? Because you never know with soaps
Yeah,
when
you
they
never know.
do." Um, and I guess Annie, she, like, whips out this huge needle, and I guess it's a sedative, it's not pain medication, though.
Okay.
And she had a look I don't know. I don't know, did they, like, play her as a little, like, off from the beginning, or was that, like, a natural decline?
I think it's a natural decline because I remember I think it was like an interview or something where they initially were just gonna play her straight, and then like something happens, which I'm not gonna spoil, but it's gonna happen. And the way that she played it, the director and the producer, I don't know if it was JFP or if it was somebody else at the time who's the producer,
Mhm,
was like, huh, let's play off of where she acted in this role
mhm.
and where she acted in this scene, and let's just have her have a mental decline.
Okay.
Like they were like, "Oh, we know Cynthia can handle it, so
Yeah.
let's keep going with this."
Maybe it's maybe it's just because I know, like, where she goes, like, mentally, that I'm
Yeah.
just reading too much into everything. Because the way she, like, pulled out that needle, I was like, "Oh, she crazy." Um, the diner is packed, and oh, this is when Elaine's recasted.
Again. Now I say again because I went back to the Chris's episode because I wanted to because I it's tradition for me to watch the 1975 Chris's episode, but I went back and I watched the 1974 Chris's episode just to get context for the 1975 Chris's episode because I never did that
Mhm.
because both Chris episodes were not available until like recently.
Okay.
So in late 1974, I don't know the reason why Melina Canacretis is not playing a lady at this point. In both occasions, it was Wendy Kaplan playing her in a Chris episode. There was no announcement, so I'm assuming she was on there for a few episodes, so they
Okay.
didn't need to make an announcement. Because just the same way that it happened, this one, like she was Eleni for a few episodes, so there's no need to make an announcement multiple times.
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
know that spoiler alert, Melina does eventually leave the role, and Wendy is not like recast. It's Jennifer Rosell
Oh,
for
okay.
for the character's run.
Okay. Um,
Um, my guess is, see, this is my guess with Melina. I I think that might have been the because I remember her on NYPD Blue, but I
oh
forgot what the air
yeah.
dates were. So I'm guessing she went off to do
Hmm.
that, and that's why
Maybe.
it was like that's why it was kind of like choppy, where it was like we get Wendy on some days, you get Melina on some days, you get Wendy on some days. So
I forgot that she did NYPD Blue before Providence.
yeah, she was on. I'm not sure if it was after or before or during when she was on Guiding Light. After she left Guiding Light or during while she was on Guiding Light.
Maybe she did both for a little bit because what's her name? Tamara Tooney did
Mhm.
SVU. Was it SVU or regular?
SVU.
While she was doing As the World Turns, which
Yeah.
worked out because they both were in New York, so they got
Yeah.
to do
I
she got to do a
forgot if
New York
NYPD Blue I forgot if NYPD Blue was in New York or if it was
LA, New York.
split because they did have like the people going and I love NYPD Blue just as a little
You know, I've actually never
little
watched
side
it.
note. Yeah.
I've never watched it,
Oh my
actually.
gosh, I love that show. I love it's my favorite problematic cop show.
You're problematic.
Yes. Everybody has a problematic cop show. NYPD Blue is just my favorite. But yeah,
Um,
I think that has a lot to do with that. It could also be like an issue that see I couldn't find a reason, so that's why I'm kind of like speculating. So
hmm,
if anybody knows,
let us know. Buzz gives a speech about how everyone needs to band together and rebuild.
mm,
And at first I didn't know who this guy was, so I just put a jerk
me neither.
says things. This is a developer's dream that they'll offer quick cash to buy the land and open up a mall instead of rebuilding the housing.
And then when Buzz said, "Who are you?" I said the same exact thing. I was like, "Who are you?"
Eleni says she's going to check on Josh's kids, and she ends up talking with the priest. As it looked like Frank was listening, but I guess he didn't hear anything. He was just kind of
Uh,
watching. Um, and she said she got a letter with something about her family that she was gonna tell Frank while they were away, but then the whole fire happened. So then I'm like, okay, so it's not a romance with the priest. I'm like, this is a
oh,
twist. um, so I don't know what that could be. I mean, you might know, but I don't. Don't spoil
beats me.
it.
I don't
uh,
know. It sounds like an arranged marriage. I don't know, but
oh, so her and Frank's marriage could be like not legal. You mean?
I don't think that legal. I think that she's supposed to. If I don't know, maybe I'm confusing German culture with Indian culture, but like I swear that in not German. Wow, Greek culture, not German culture. I swear in Greek culture they also have arranged marriages, but I'm not 100% sure on my end.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Um, Speaking of marriages that aren't legal, um, or could be legal. So David and her name is Gabby. We didn't know her name last name.
Gabrielle. Yep.
Gabriella. I just
You know
wrote
what?
Gabby.
I was like, oh no, she has the same name as another character. I'm like, oh, it's the same name as poor Charles's Gabrielle.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
and I think what annoys me is that they call her Gabrielle, like the full name, and not shorten it.
uh-huh.
I'm so used to being everybody calls Gabrielle from Port Charles
Mhm.
Gabby.
Yeah.
So, but they're like, no,
Um,
it's Gabrielle. Like, okay, we'll just keep going. We'll keep going with this.
so David wants to get to know her, and she like gives him like basic facts about her, and he's like, "No, I don't." He's like, "I don't want to know what you're telling the immigration agents. I want to know about you."
Hmm.
Um, and it seems like they might have real feelings for each other, and they end up actually making love.
She took her top off and was he said I love you. And that's all you need to know.
He said, "I want to make love to my wife."
Make love to my wife.
And later, they're actually like going over, I guess, questions she's going to be asked with
Mhm.
Sid, who's a lawyer, um, Jilly's
Uh-huh.
husband,
Yeah,
and Ross.
Ross. Yep.
Okay. Um, Also, question. So I I got the info that Blake is Roger's daughter. I didn't
Yes.
know she's Holly's daughter also?
Yes. So they were. She was a product of their marriage in the 70s.
Oh.
They remember when she got raped? Well, I don't know if you remember that because we both weren't alive. Remember hearing the history that she got raped during
Mhm,
their marriage?
mhm.
Um, that wasn't a product of that, but that was during her first, like their first like
Go around.
go around together.
Holly and her look the same age. Honestly.
Yeah,
That's why I'm having trouble with this. I was like,
yeah,
"Okay."
that's why psoriasing shouldn't be a thing.
Um, I
Because
can accept that she
Holly,
was Roger's daughter because he looks older with the gray hair, but Holly, I was like, "Are they sure?"
Blake should be if she was born in the 70s, and her real name is Christina or Christine.
Okay.
Blake is just a name that she came up. I think Blake is actually her middle name, but
Oh,
Blake, or it was retcon to be her middle name.
like Jeannie Teresa on Days.
She came back. She came back like under kind of undercover, and then it was revealed that like Blake is Holly's daughter before Roger came back, and it was a thing. So
Okay. Um,
that was when Brian Dennehy's daughter played her. So
yeah. So there seems to be a lot of younger looking women with older men on Guiding Light, I feel like.
oh yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, so Blake and Holly look like they're the same age, but Blake is dating Ross, who I'm like looks like her father. He could be the same age as her
Maybe we'll
father
just
if
go
Roger's
watch
her
it.
father.
Yeah. No, that was the whole thing. Cause like and I don't mean to make light of this, but when um when Holly found out that Ross was dating Blake, Blake was actually so not Blake, yeah, well, it was an affair because Holly and Ross were dating too.
Oh,
Yep. So and then when Roger found out, he actually hauled off and slapped her.
really?
Yep, and that was a scene that aired on CBS daytime at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern.
Wow. Was that in the 80s?
That was in the early 90s. That actually was it was actually a few I think it was like a week or it was very closely after oh my gosh, what's your name? Redheaded girl. I can You're currently playing Blake right now. Elizabeth Kiefer. That was right after she took over as Blake.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
One of her first major scenes with
Was getting slapped.
Breakfast Laszlo was getting slapped by him.
Wow. Um, so okay, so yeah, back to what's her name? Gabby.
Gabby
Gabriella.
Gabrielle, yep.
So she's going over questions with Ross, and they're kind of joking around. They're like, "Are you a spy? Like, do you plan on overthrowing the country?" They're just like joking around, like, "No." So she's like, "I assume that's a no, 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 no." And then they get to a question: "Have you ever been a prostitute?"
And then it went boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if that's how it was edited or if the video was just like freezing because I've
No,
never
no, no.
seen like that happen. Usually they'll just do
And
like
then
a
I
smooth
was
close up, and it was like dun 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 dun.
and then at the same time I was like, oop, 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 oop. And then I was like, I was actually having fun with that scene a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, it's not gonna happen, Not, she's gonna be fine. Like, I'm sure like something else is gonna because I know that they don't last long.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what's the thing to make them break up? And, and when he asked that question, when the zoom ins happened, I was like, oop, 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 oop.
Well, we had wondered at the New Year's party if it was like a green card marriage, and it is.
Yeah,
Now they have feelings for each other. And when you told me it didn't last long, I'm like, well, she must get deported or die. We'll see what happens.
so what happens? Yeah, so what happens to her? Yeah,
um,
I feel like green card marriages on soaps haven't are as popular as they people want them to be.
yeah, it's just another trope that they feel like they need to do sometimes.
Yeah, because they
Um,
had like wasn't her what's her name also Gabrielle? Wow, okay. On Bold and Beautiful, they had Chanel Workman's character,
okay,
um, Mary Thomas,
okay.
and that didn't last long either.
Um, they did it on Melrose Place too with the gay character Matt. He like married
Yeah.
Coppola, and the girl
I'm
from
trying to
Mrs.
choose
Doubtfire was her daughter.
Wilson,
Yeah,
Mrs. Doubtfire, and Matilda.
Matilda. Back to Guiding Light.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what happened, but they conveniently get interrupted before she could say, "No, I was not a prostitute." Or I think she says no, but
So
like she's lying.
Blake called, I think. I think
Okay.
Blake had called.
Oh, to say she was going to be working late because
She
she's
should be
working on the
working.
case.
Yeah.
She's like, I was out there for 8 hours. She's like, I had to have seen something that led to these fires. So Blake is on the case. She's going to solve who set these fires.
Uh huh.
And obviously, because she's a main cast member, she's going to be the one to solve this.
Yeah, of course. No,
Not the police, because soap opera police are shit.
I mean, like, what is Frank doing? He's a detective. No, oh no, Frank would solve it too because he is like a detective that's not in the police force yet.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert: Frank does join the police force later. Later, I don't know when though, but
Okay.
like he's working with Blake. He's working with Blake on this too. So
Okay. Gotcha. Um, so Alan goes to tea with Alexandra. I was really excited to see Marcy
yes,
Stein. And he brings up Roger, and um, Roger calls him on his cell phone, which is huge, by the way.
uh huh.
And I laughed when she was just like, "Ugh," she's like, so distracting having to listen to that phone when you're trying to have a conversation in tea. Like, imagine that happening. And I'm like, that's like everybody sits on their phones now while they're eating.
Yeah, right.
It was just funny. That was a huge phone. And the bag that he took it out almost looked like back in the 80s when they used to like basically carry like a battery pack bag for the
Uh
cell
huh.
phone.
Kind of look like a briefcase too.
Yeah. So it's Roger, and he's pretending like it's a business thing. Apparently he's wired,
Hmm.
and Roger's recording it, or Roger's listening, but Alan's recording it. Um, and she continues to lie and say that she slept with Alan until he
Yeah,
freaks out and kind of makes a scene. And it's at a fancy restaurant, so she's like, "You're being really loud. You need to be quiet."
being really loud. Be quiet.
And then she admits that she lied and that it was just to break up Roger and Holly. So they get the evidence that they need.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, at the paper, Holly continues to be a bitch to Tangi. Mentions the classified thing like it's like beneath her.
Yeah.
And she ends up firing her. So
Yeah.
this girl got like promoted, fired, all within like 24, 48 hours.
Yep.
um, so now she's like, all right, bitch. She's like, all right, I'm gonna call Roger. And she's like, Roger, meet me for lunch. I have to tell you something. And
Now you
uh
know Tangi's relationship with Roger, right?
Angie's relationship with Roger. Um, no.
So she is his ward. Sorry, yeah, he is her ward. I'm sorry. Um, they I think between the time that he was dead, because yes, Roger was dead. Um, between the time he was dead in the 70s, in the like the early 80s and like the late 80s, he like kind of I wouldn't say adopt. I think he just stepped in to parent her, and then that's
Oh.
where yeah. So
Oh.
which kind of
Okay.
tracks because Marcy Walker was a teenager back in the 80s. She was on All My Children in Santa Barbara. So she was, if you remember that famous story of All My Children, Tad the Cat.
Mhm.
So that was when she was
Oh,
with the show.
okay. Hmm. Yeah, I didn't know if they were, like, romantically involved at some point or if
They're not. They wouldn't be.
okay,
It would have been gross, unless they eventually did it, and then that's why she left.
okay. So, I think at this point, Fletcher is talking to her in her office, and she sees Tangy leave. So she's like, "Shit." So she's telling Fletcher that she knows, and he's like, "Well, do you think she's gonna tell him?" And she sees her leave, and she's like, "I gotta go." So she
Yeah.
goes running after her, um, goes to the restaurant that she was trying to have breakfast at when, and before Tangy could tell Roger, um, Holly calls the restaurant and says that she wants to meet with him.
Uh-huh.
So then he rushes out there, and Tangy's annoyed, and then she turns around, and Holly's there like, "Gotcha, bitch." So then Holly was like, "Okay, maybe I was a little hasty in firing you." So then, Tangy thinks this is like a bribe, and Holly gives her a promotion, another promotion. She first
Ah,
says editor of entertainment, and she's just like, I don't know. And she's like, oh, you want hard news. So then she
yeah,
gives her some other bullshit title, and she's like, why should I believe you? And she's like, I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize the paper. So she's like, I need to think about it, and she's like, well, don't think too long. So
yeah.
she's like, I actually think you're a pretty good writer, I guess. So Roger goes to the paper and he's waiting in Holly's office, and she comes back and Fletcher's like, does he know? And I'm like, would he be that calm if he knew that you slept with his wife? Like,
Yeah.
they're not divorced, right? They're just like separated.
Who? I'm sorry.
Holly and Roger.
I think they are divorced, actually.
Oh, okay.
Cause yeah, they're divorced because he was going to propose to her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're divorced, or at least it was dissolved by his death. It's
Oh, okay. So
and
this
they
was like them getting back on track, and then he allegedly slept with Alexandra, and that kind of derailed them a little bit.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So she says to Fletcher, no, he doesn't know, and he's not going to. And she goes in her office, and she basically says she knows the truth and that they're good, and she wants to work on getting back together.
Yeah.
So I'm like, of course, this is gonna be like a lingering thing now that he didn't fuck up, but she actually did in response to thinking that he fucked up. Like,
Yes, it's good. It's all twisted and tied and boom.
um, we see Buzz and a lot of the townsfolk, Sid, Jilly, helping out at the shelter, and then we see the cop who now is suspicious about there being multiple fires around town.
Yeah.
He gets a warrant for an arrest warrant, and Blake is there, and she's kind of like taking notes, like arrest warrant, okay. And meanwhile, I guess Sid is about to meet Jilly's mother for the first time, is what I took away. Was she not at the wedding? I don't know.
Yeah,
Or
that's
maybe
what I
they're just having lunch with the mother.
guess they're just having lunch, but I didn't know if they were meeting at the first time or not.
Okay. So it's Jilly, Sid, her mother,
Uh-huh.
David, and Gabrielle.
Yeah.
They're all having lunch together. And Buzz walks into the restaurant, I guess hoping to get some charity from either the patrons or from the restaurant itself.
Yeah.
And the maitre d's like, no, like you can't. This is not the place. He's like, I appreciate your cause, but like you can't disrupt like people's meal, and like this isn't it.
Yeah.
So then he has to go take care of something. Apparently, two parties were booked in one room at the same time, so he has to go take care of that. And Buzz kind of like goes behind desk thingy, and a woman enters, and she says she's there for, like, a lunch with the ladies of the American Revolution. He's like, "Oh, who's gonna be there?" And she names some people. She names Alexandra. And she's like, "Why am I talking to you?" She's like, "You're not the Major D or Major Domo or whatever." And then Buzz goes, "Ladies of the American Revolution." He's like, I think he said, like, "They're still alive" or something. Um, so then the police come in, and I'm like, "Okay, are they arresting Gabby because she lied that she's a prostitute?"
That's what I thought.
And they end up arresting David for the fires.
Oh, I thought it was Sid.
Sid, sorry, Sid for
Yeah.
for the fires, and that's how the week ended. So, like, I don't understand. Does
Yeah,
he
I
not
thought it was
have a
Sid.
like, an alibi for where he was?
Yeah, wasn't he, like, at the scene?
He said he was, like, stuck at the blockade by the bridge,
Oh, right, he was at the blockade, okay.
so I don't understand why they think it was him. Like, there was no, like, breadcrumbs or evidence
Yeah, there was, like, there
for
was
us
no,
to see
like,
anyway.
there
I
was
guess they'll
not.
explain it next week. They'll be like, "Well, this is what happened, and so and so saw you here," or whatever. They'll probably give us something.
Yeah.
Um, which doesn't look good, but because apparently, Jilly's mother's kinda uppity. She's a little
Uh-huh.
bougie, and so, of course, her husband's now getting arrested in front of her mother at a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
The scandal of it all.
Scandal of it all.
So this was a really good week. I enjoyed it. We were only gonna watch 3 episodes, and I was like, "We have to keep watching."
Yeah.
Um, we're kind of like half the week was still kinda dealing with the fire, and now we're kinda dealing with the aftermath, so now I feel like the show's gonna settle, and it's gonna be less, like, flashy, and we're gonna actually, like,
Uh-huh.
get into the story. So, I'm
Till
excited.
February when they have sleep stuff.
Yeah, for another explosion. Um, did I forget anything? Was there anything you wanted to mention?
Nope. Oh, I also want to bring up that it is awesome to see people of color in, like, high society. I love it so much.
And in a story, not just talk tos.
Yep, not just talk tos and, like, with careers and, like, paths and, like, actual aspirations and stuff like that. I can see why Jamie Giddens loves Guiding Light during this time.
Yeah, and being seen pretty regularly, not just, like,
Uh-huh.
on the 1st and 15th.
Now the thing I don't like, I don't really like is, like, oh, they're strapped with the, um,
The
what
green
is it
card.
called? The, green card thing, but, yeah, I think I'm gonna get over that pretty quickly.
Okay. Um, so I Wikipedia is weird. They don't for some reason, Guiding Light doesn't have a lot of information. Like, if you do see, like, a highlighted, like, hyperlink for a character and you click on it, it just takes you to the Guiding Light Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So Soap Central is actually better
Soul
for
Central is really
information.
good. Yeah.
Um, where was I going with this? Oh, so I went to Wikipedia because when you had mentioned Jill Farren Phelps was the
Uh-huh.
EP at the time, I wanted to see how long she was the EP, and it looks like she leaves in '95.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, um trying to think. There's a lot of, like, a lot of people leaving Guiding Light at this point too. There's, like, a lot of change. People are coming back. People are coming in.
Yeah,
Um,
and I noticed, around 2001, I think Claire Labine is listed like, I was looking at the head writers, and Claire Labine was the head writer, and that's, like, the last time there was a solo head writer. There was always, like, 2 to 4 head writers
yeah.
till the end from, like, 2001, and
Uh-huh.
names I didn't recognize, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Where are these head writers? I wonder if they were
What are
old
they
and they
doing?
retired."
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I'm like, we just don't have any other options. I just feel like we've been recycling the same head writers for, like, the last 15 years now.
Yeah. We have been.
Um, yeah, I just thought that was interesting that it started out with, it wasn't Agnes Nixon, it was, oh, what was her name?
Arna
Erna Phil
Phillips?
Erna
Yeah.
Phillips, and then Agnes took over and she was the head writer. And then I guess that's when she till like 66, I believe. And then I guess that's when she started developing like All My Children, One Life to Live.
Uh-huh.
And then Bill Bell was in there at
Yeah.
some point.
Uh-huh.
So that's cool. I actually just found out Bill Bell had worked on, I think, Guiding Light at some point. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, he did, he did.
I thought he started with Days, and then he started The Young and the Restless.
Well, he was the protege of, Agnes Nixon, so that explains it.
That's cool that they were
Him
all
and,
connected.
Agnes were. Sorry, Ernest Phillips, yeah, not Agnes Nixon, Ernest Phillips.
Or no, yeah. So I like that. I like that they were trained together, and that's why they were great.
Yeah, they should do that more.
But all right, if you don't have anything else to add, I guess we can wrap this up.
Nope, I don't.
Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of Queers and Soaps, Guiding Light Style. Happy New Year. Happy 2024.
Happy New Year!
As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, bye.
Bye.